Hello, and welcome to Sanlando Soundwaves. I'm Leslie McKean, and this is week 23, day 112. And today we are reading Samuel 1, chapter 15, verses 10 through 35. Then the word of the Lord came to Samuel. I regret that I have made Saul king, because he has turned away from me and has not carried out my instructions. Samuel was angry, and he cried out to the Lord all that night. Early in the morning, Samuel got up and went to meet Saul, but he was told, Saul has gone to Carmel. There he has set up a monument in his own honor and has turned and gone down to Gilgal. When Samuel reached him, Saul said, The Lord bless you. I have carried out the Lord's instructions. But Samuel said, What then is this bleating of sheep in my ears? What is this lowing of cattle that I hear? Saul answered, The soldiers brought them from the Amalekites. They spared the best of the sheep and cattle to sacrifice to the Lord your God. But we totally destroyed the rest. Enough, Samuel said to Saul. Let me tell you what the Lord said to me last night. Tell me, Saul replied. Samuel said, Although you were once small in your own eyes, did you not become the head of the tribes of Israel? The Lord anointed you king over Israel, and he sent you on a mission, saying, Go and completely destroy those wicked people, the Amalekites. Wage war against them until you have wiped them out. Why did you not obey the Lord? Why did you pounce on the plunder and do evil in the eyes of the Lord? But I did obey the Lord, Saul said. I went on the mission the Lord assigned me. I completely destroyed the Amalekites and brought back Agag the king. The soldiers took the sheep and cattle from the plunder, the best of what was devoted to God, in order to sacrifice them to the Lord your God at Gilgal. But Samuel replied, Does the Lord delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as much as in obeying the Lord? To obey is better than sacrifice, and to heed is better than the fat of rams. For rebellion is like the sin of divination, and arrogance like the evil of idolatry. Because you have rejected the word of the Lord, he has rejected you as king. Then Saul said to Samuel, I have sinned. I have violated the Lord's command and your instructions. I was afraid of the men, and so I gave in to them. Now I beg you, forgive my sin and come back with me so that I may worship the Lord. But Samuel said to him, I will not go back with you. You have rejected the word of the Lord, and the Lord has rejected you as king over Israel. As Samuel turned to leave, Saul caught hold of his hem of his robe and tore it. And Samuel said to him, The Lord has torn the kingdom of Israel from you today and has given it to one of your neighbors, to one better than you. He who is the glory of Israel does not lie or change his mind, for he is not a human being that should change his mind. And Saul replied, I have sinned, but please honor me before the elders of my people and before Israel. Come back with me so that I may worship the Lord your God. And so Samuel went back with Saul, and Saul worshipped the Lord. Then Samuel said, Bring me Agag, the king of the Amalekites. And Agag came to him in chains. And he thought, Surely the bitterness of the death is past. But Samuel said, As your sword has made women childless, so will your mother be childless among women. And Samuel put Agag to death before the Lord at Gilgal. Then Samuel left for Ramah, but Saul went to his home in Gilead of Saul until the day Samuel died. He did not go to see Saul again, though Samuel mourned for him. And the Lord regretted that he had made Saul king over Israel. Now let's read and reflect on our 7 arrows. What does this passage say? What did this passage mean to the original audience? What does this passage tell us about God? What does this passage tell us about man? What does this passage demand of me? How does this passage change the way I relate to people? What does this passage prompt me to pray to God? Now let's read a brief devotional about this passage in our book, 7 Arrows. Rather than leading Israel to make better decisions and follow God's plan, Saul continued the practices that landed them in trouble in the first place. The goal of Israel at this time was to drive out the foreign inhabitants of the Promised Land and to destroy the worship of false gods. Instead, the people plundered the goods of those they defeated in battle and took what they wanted for themselves. Some even went so far as to offer sacrifices to God from the spoils they claimed in victory. God, through the prophet Samuel, reminded the people that he did not need their sacrifices. He wanted their obedience. Because Saul embraced these foolish practices and led the people in rebellion, God removed Saul as king. Saul will continue to show up throughout the coming books of the Bible, but his God-appointed leadership of the people was over. The question was simply, who would emerge as the next king, and would he fare any better? Thanks for joining us today. We hope to see you again tomorrow.